Well, good day, everybody. Welcome to the Lifetime Training Talks podcast. And today we've got an amazing story of two people. One person who just worked their tail off and said, I'm not going to stop and I'm going to keep going to achieve my goals through an amazing 60-day program. And then we have her coach with us. And I'd like to welcome both Beth Tkac and Andrew McGovern to the show. Welcome, folks.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jason.
No problem. And this is a great story. And you know, I want to just jump in and I'll start with you, Beth, and then we'll tackle Andrew as we go. But I know that you've done a couple of 60 days, and I'd love for you to just tell your story, kind of what led you to it, and then all the way through to, you know, kind of winning the second one.
Right. So last year I started in 2019. I actually did the spring challenge. Wait, or is that 2020? I swear I get all my years.
all of us are confused at this point in time
right,
of the year.
Last year was a blur. So I started doing that 60-day, and it ended prematurely because the gyms shut down due to COVID. And I was doing really well. At least I thought. I struggle with losing weight, and I had actually lost a few pounds, and I was like super proud and successful, and what I had accomplished up until that point. And then with the gyms closing down, we didn't actually get to finish the 60 days. So that whole year of COVID was very detrimental to my mental health, my physical health. I was eating a lot. I was consuming a lot more, and I was just straight up lazy the whole year. I didn't go anywhere. I wasn't doing anything productive with my life, and the pounds had definitely added on. I was not happy with what I was seeing in the mirror. I was never to the point where I was like, I don't want to look at myself, but I was just like, this is not the Beth I know. I can be so much better. So I ended up getting the email saying that, you know, the gyms had been open for a while, but I still was like prolonging that just because I knew I wasn't looking the way I had been, and I was embarrassed to go back and actually face reality. I need to make these changes. Yeah. So the 60-day email came out saying that they were going to do a new one for the spring of this year. And I was like, all right, I'm all in. Let's do this. So I ended up reaching back out to Andrew, letting him know I was coming back to the club. And I was ready to make some changes. So we started working out 3 days a week together, and I was doing additional conditioning on the side. And we started very slowly. There was a few weeks where we didn't even pick up weights. We worked on, stretching and form and breath work. And there was just so many little stepping stones I had to do before I could I at least, feel confident getting back into the gym, because I'd been lazy for almost sedentary for an entire year.
But, on that, I'd like to dive into it because obviously, something I didn't mention, obviously you're an Air Force veteran. So, thank you first and foremost for your service. And obviously there's a bit of fitness and health that has to go into, being in the Air Force and doing those types of things. And so, I would love for you to kind of, what were you thinking? Because obviously a lot of people start out and they'll start with a trainer and they'll have them do some of these things, breath work, and, maybe spending a little bit more time on mobility. And they just were like, I just want to get after it. I need to, I got 60 days. I got to get in shape. Talk me through some of that. And even with you, Andrew, kind of what was going through your head?
Yeah, I can
Andrew,
chime in and then
start? Yeah,
I'll chime in, and then Beth, you can tack on to that. It's about laying the foundation, right? If we're trying to build a house or rework a house, we have to start with the foundation. You wouldn't buy a house with a shoddy foundation and no foundation at all. And so, and we did a lot of neuromuscular prep work, identifying areas where she could improve her muscle activation, neuromuscular efficiencies, et cetera. So we were doing a lot of full body movements, but it just wasn't necessarily weight centric at first. A lot of mobility work, a lot of breath work. I think if you ask somebody, where does the fat go that we burn or that we mobilize and then utilize, they think maybe we excrete it out, but over 80% of it we expel through our breath. And we were talking a lot about what COVID was like for Beth and what that year was like. And most Americans don't breathe properly. They don't breathe through their diaphragm. They don't know how to belly breathe, right? Or chest breathers. So they're never activating their parasympathetic nervous system. And that was one of the first things I identified with Beth is we can get a whole lot of quote unquote gains just by teaching her how to control her breath, get her cortisol levels down, help her get control of her mind, her mindset. And then once we did that, then we layered in the next phase of the programming. And, I think she started at around 32% body fat, right? So obviously a little bit unhealthy.
You're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to say that. No, I'm just kidding.
But, a little
No, I mean, we're challenged. So yeah, I'm kidding. Yes, exactly.
But to your point, we want to, everyone's chomping at the bit. I want to do this. We have 60 days, or we have one program, or I'm investing this much time, energy, effort, resources, finance into something. But in 60 days, we went from 32% body fat to 15% body fat, right? We lost nearly 30 pounds of adipose tissue in those 60 days. But it starts with having a strong foundation and teaching the person how, talking about the vision first and foremost so they know what to expect, but then teaching them each building block through each phase of the program, and then celebrating those milestones along the way.
Awesome. I'd love to hear it from your perspective. What was going through your mind, Mary Beth?
I was totally on board. From the second I've talked to Andrew, I knew he knew exactly what he had in plan. Like, I was following his plan to a T, like whatever. I didn't want to rush anything. And I also knew like I wasn't properly moving, so I'm not just going to like throw up weight because like, yeah, I can do it, but am I moving properly? Am I using the right muscles? So I absolutely was totally on board with everything. And they're all just like building blocks to being like the best person. He talked about like the foundation of the house, and I just have trusted him fully from the very beginning, and he is like the living definition of not to put him up on a pedestal, but he's still there, right? He's like mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, like he is all well-rounded. So I'm like, I see that. That's what I want to be like. And everything he teaches, I'm trying to like absorb and soak up like a sponge.
Well, and that leads to kind of, so many people go into a competition like this, with the mindset of what I look like, right? I want to change what I look like. And, a lot of times the pictures and all that stuff, but a lot of times it's the story, obviously, that really helps, really gauge the attachment to the people that are voting. And more and more people I see, especially with what we've gone through in the pandemic, are moving from, I want to look better, but I want to just feel better. I want to be mentally, better. I want to, just be able to do the things that I love to do without pain. And so, Mary Beth, I'd love for you to kind of go into a little bit more depth with regards to, you started doing some of these fundamental breathing techniques, mobility techniques and things. And you mentioned that prior, during pandemic, physically you didn't feel where you wanted to be, and mentally you didn't be, you weren't where you wanted to be. When did you start to feel the difference, more so than see the difference in this journey?
Right. So we worked a lot on our growth mindset. So every day that was something I made sure, because that is something you continually have to work on. It's not just one day you do this a week. No, there was a lot of, just training the brain, constantly speaking positive affirmations into myself, reading personal development books. Andrew sent me a lot of podcasts, and I continually worked on that. And that eventually filtered through into the rest of the areas in my life, like professionally as well, and definitely in the gym. And I was able to get like more grit through all that. There was nothing, I don't know, it just like kind of clicked that in these uncomfortable situations, Andrew always says, like, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that is where the real growth happens. And that's where I was getting stronger in the gym, pushing myself and like truly believing in myself that, pain is temporary. We're going to get through this and, just become better.
And I think that's some of the unspoken things that I think happens when you work with, a true, what I'll call health and fitness professional, not trainer, when they start to look at it from that entire perspective. And, some people might know growth mindset, Andrew, would you mind, I know that where that comes from, but would you love, I'd love for you to explain, what that means, growth mindset.
So, and it's, for me too, there's grit, there's willpower, you have growth mindset, you have mindfulness, and you have gratitude. And I think you stack all those five things together, and they're synergistic with each other. But growth mindset, the opposite of fixed mindset, is that you see, instead of seeing maybe adversity as a negative thing, or your circumstances as a negative thing, your locus of control is maybe small, through growth mindset, we expand that, right? We see adversity as an opportunity. We see a failure as an opportunity to learn, for example. Even successes that we achieve, we celebrate them, but it's like, what led to that, right? What can I double down on? What maybe can I pivot on and achieve more success? For specifically, I'll kind of talk about willpower, right? Willpower, they think it's like this buzzword or it's just this phrase, but it can kind of be boiled down into 3 kind of main points: your will to do, your will not to do, but then most importantly, what Mary Beth kind of mentioned, what do you want, right? What is your deeply rooted foundation of what you actually want? And then once you kind of uncover that and unlock that for that person, that's where we can work on grit, we can work on mindfulness, we can work on gratitude, we can talk through growth mindset, etc. But through the growth mindset that Mary Beth was mentioning, that's where you begin to establish a deeply rooted belief in self. And to me, once that's unlocked with the client or the individual, you start seeing some really amazing things blossom, mentally, emotionally, and then physically, right? The whole adage, the quickest way to the mind is through the body, but you can't neglect the mind, to what I think Mary Beth called it, working on the brain, training the brain. When you're doing those things together, there's this amazing response that happens, that you create this amazing transformation, mentally, emotionally, physically, in a very short amount of time. Yeah. And I think the 60-day is a phenomenal tool to get people to attach themselves to something that's external, right? I think having deep-rooted internal motivation is critical, but we all need a little bit of sometimes external motivation, maybe external accountability. Some people like challenges, some people like a program to follow. And I think the 60-day or a coach can fit those 2 bills pretty well.
It's amazing. I always look at resistance training, strength training, even cardiovascular training, when you push yourself, as kind of this metaphor for life of, what do you do when you train? You go to failure. That's what you need to do. And you need to go to failure and be okay with it, and then push through it, and then go to failure again, and then push through it. And it just kind of shows you that anything you do in life, it follows that pathway. So I love that flip of a mindset of saying failure is learning, failure is needed in order for you to move forward and really, achieve what it is that you're trying to achieve. So it's amazing that that we have people that are working on both of those things, the physical person as well as the mental aspect of this, and how important it is as this industry and as this profession grows.
Well, I think you nailed it, Jason. I think in lifetime in general, certainly here, we take the responsibility very seriously. Where we want to treat the whole person, right? It's not just, okay, I want to drop this much weight, or I want to do this. Some people may come in and specifically say that, and we'll tell them, like, we don't even really do sessions per se. What are the results that you want? Here are the results that you might need. Here's the program, the systematic program that's going to help you achieve those things. And we're going to treat that whole person in the entirety, their mind, their well-being. It's truly a holistic approach to health.
Love it. So Mary Beth, now we've only got to about maybe 2 weeks in, I'm assuming, right, of this program that you started to do. We got, you passed the fundamental, building that foundation. Take us from there now.
So from there, from the get-go, I was just committed. I did everything Andrew said. I may have slipped up a little. We're all humans. I don't know.
Hold on, I gotta stop you there. When you say that, what happened? Like, what did you do? What was a slip?
Maybe I had a few extra calories that I didn't tell him about, or I didn't. I may have made an excuse one day and I didn't do my conditioning, because it's a lot easier to show up when someone's coaching you through everything, but then you also have to hold yourself accountable. And I feel like that didn't really start to kick in, because I showed up, in the beginning for myself and Andrew, but at the end, it was like definitely about myself at the end, like I was holding myself accountable, not just because like I knew my trainer was expecting me to be there. So I felt like that was a huge transition that I saw in myself, where I was just like, no, I'm going to do this. Or, instead of sitting on the couch, I can like get up and I can go take my dog for a walk. I was just like, anything to live this like healthier all around lifestyle was starting to evolve for me.
But what's huge there is because I think that if you look at, there's thousands of people that do these competitions, or let's take the competition or the challenge out and just say, I'm one that wants to change. Your ability to see that, hey, I did it. I drank too much, I ate whatever it was that you did, but then you push past it. You started over. Okay, let's get back on track and come back. I think that there's a ton in that, because that's the everyday person. That's all of us. I can't stop eating pizza. I love it. And
right. And I feel like myself before, like I could have used that to like spiral downwards.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I ate like this, why not? And just keep unraveling. Instead, I'm like, okay, nope, bounce back. I know what I need to do. I have structure, routine. Let's just get back into it. I wasn't dwelling on it.
Yeah. And that's the comfort in, everybody out there listening to this is, nobody's perfect. We're going to fail. And you still won, with, whatever, how big or how small these roadblocks, we'll say, were. So now, when was it the point at which you said, okay, I think, what, I can go after this. I think I could win this. I mean, because that usually pops in at some place in the 2 months.
Well, Andrew actually called it from the very beginning. When we were doing our 60-day kickoff, Andrew was like, Mary Beth's going to be our national winner. And I was just like, oh man.
There's some pressure, right?
I know. But at the end, I was like, go ahead, Andrew.
No, I'll chime in. I think that's part of it, Jason, that growth mindset, all the things together. I think I created a self-fulfilling prophecy. Mary Beth said from the beginning, I want to win this. I want to get back to me, the best version of myself that I've been. And she was a winner, and that's how she described herself. And so I said, okay, you tasked me, you tasked yourself with this responsibility, so let's do it. And it was we had a 80 some plus kickoff, 60-day kickoff, which was pretty great of attendees. And I pulled her up on kind of the stage on the squat racks and said, this is going to be our national winner. And through that self-fulfilling prophecy, I think it came to fruition. I'll say there wasn't, maybe Mary Beth, you can speak to this. Maybe you had some self-doubt along the way that maybe I'm not aware of, but from day one, she was going to win this. I mean, she approached it as if she was going to win this.
Well, and I think one thing I want to chime in on, and one of my favorite books of all time, if you haven't read it, please go do it. It's called The 3 Laws of Performance, and it's by the guys who developed a lot of the education for Landmark education, if you're familiar with Landmark. But the first law of performance is, that we all kind of see things through the language in our mind. It's subconscious, it's conscious. And then it gets down to the third one, which is the thing that changes the language is a vision of the future, right? Is a vision of the future vividly that you put in your mind. I think so many people don't do that enough. And I think the people that do it and ingrain it in and, post it everywhere or make, affirmations into the future, those are the ones that it brings you back to that when the times get tough. And, did you do anything? Did you take, obviously you took pictures, but anything you can speak to on, how that vision and how that affirmation in the beginning allowed you to stick with it and move forward?
Right. Yeah. So Andrew had me write affirmations and stick them all over my house. So when I'm like sitting at my desk, then I'm reading those, and I had timers for every hour on the hour. I was just doing like little stretches or movements or just getting up and moving around. So that definitely helped. And I feel like the longer I did this, the better I was feeling. So then I was more motivated to be even more dedicated and not slip up. And it was just all around it. It just like kept evolving. I kept telling myself, like, I feel great. I want to keep feeling great. So I eat better. I feel better. And it was just this constant, positive.
It's like a compounding effect that just
exactly.
Yeah.
Every day I was feeling better, and I was like on fire, and I felt it, and I was like, I love this feeling. I never want to give it up. So
that's great. It's great. And so
I call it the habit of health, Jason. It's like we have all these complacencies. We without realizing it, we start all these habits for ourselves that maybe we don't even know we don't like, right? Until we do something different, until we maybe allow ourselves to get uncomfortable. Let's get comfortable being uncomfortable. And then it's all about tacking on new habits that lead to health.
Yep. And it's that compounding. I know when I first started meditation, I did it, it probably 4 months before I'm like, all of a sudden one day, boom, it it clicks, and then you're like, oh my God, that's what I'm supposed to be feeling, or I get it now. And it's just that compounding effect, which is fantastic. So, I'd love for you to go, like, was there a time during I'm sure multiple, but what was the one that stood out that was just like, I really hate you, I don't want to do this? Like, what's, was it an exercise? Was it a workout? What was it? Just, that kind of really tested you.
I don't think I could ever hate Andrew. Like, he's changed my life.
Yeah, not hate, not the wrong expression, but just more like, no, I'm not gonna. Like, I'm not gonna do this. I don't want to do this. Why are you doing this to me?
There's a few exercises where I was just like, not happening. Nope.
Yeah.
But then once again, Andrew's like, the word can't should never be in your vocabulary. And I was like, you're right.
What was it?
Sometimes
You remember?
I feel like shoulder taps. Is that one of the ones? There was like few things where like I don't have like the strongest core, so I really struggled with those. And I was just like, just doing compounding sets, and then you're just so fatigued, and you're like, I can't do this. But he's there like screaming in your face. There's like a show, everyone's watching, and you're like, well, I'm not giving up now because everyone's in the gym's watching.
That's great.
There was one, Jason, I'll remember there was, again, she was hands down one of, she is, the most fun person I've ever had the opportunity to work with. And I think probably the most committed, whether she'll acknowledge it or not, the most committed and driven person that I've had the opportunity to work with. But there was one day, and this is where I think the coach kind of has to know when you've taken someone to a limit emotionally, right? Yeah. And there was only one time in which I really kind of had to say, okay, we're done for the day. Let's go do some recovery. Let's go do the Theragun. Let's do some Normatec, where we were doing a shoulder press. So it was shoulders. And I was doing some manual cueing. And I said, talking about her delts and driving through here. And she kind of just looked at me, and there was no activation happening in the delts. And so I said, all right. And she's like, I'm done. I'm like, you're done. Let's go.
It's great. And again, it's just the power of working with somebody and being able to see that and being okay. And then let's move into something new and still keep you moving. So it's fantastic. So now we get to the point where you're done with the 60-day. You got to write this story. Talk us through the story that you wrote.
I'm a procrastinator, not gonna lie. So I wait till the last minute.
It's all.
But I thrive under pressure, though. So it really was just like reflecting back on how I felt. And I knew I didn't want to read other people's stories because I didn't want my story to be like theirs. I didn't want to be influenced by others. And I really just like thought back the whole 60 days. It's such a short amount of time, but I learned so much in that 60 days through Andrew.
But I think too, it's so powerful to, again, go back and reflect. And so I don't think it's procrastinating. I think it's actually great that you waited, because then you have all these things that you can go back to and start to think. And then that comes back up. And I think it reinforces, the journey moving forward, even in the struggles and how you overcame them. And it's almost more, you become more proud, when you start to tell that story.
Right. And I remember in my story, like, the outward appearance, all that was all extra. Like, it was never for me, like, I want to get into a size certain pant or wear this size clothing. It was like, I want to feel good about myself. And I had uncovered so much more than just feeling. Like, it was the confidence I had. And it just, my whole family, friends, everyone's like, you're completely different. You're the happiest I've ever seen. I have the confidence, and like, I want everyone else to feel the same way that I do, because they deserve it. We all deserve it.
Yeah.
It's so insane what you can achieve in 60 days.
Yep.
So
yeah. And so now we submit, and now you talk us through, both of you guys, how did you find out, that you won, and talk us through that whole experience.
Well, Andrew got the call first, so I'll let you go from there.
Okay. So, yeah, and I'll just tack on to what she said. We talked about procrastination, or I think someone said pressure, dwell under pressure. And it takes me back to a quote, no pressure, no diamonds. And I think sometimes self-imposed pressure, or maybe a little bit of external pressure, that's where you create the diamonds. And to me, if I had to describe Mary Beth, she is like a diamond in her radiance. Like she is a leader in the club now. Everybody kind of goes to Mary Beth for the positive affirmations now and to feel great. And I think that is a testament to everything she went through in the 60 days. And she absolutely, I think, epitomizes living a life of health, happiness, and confidence now. So she wrote the story. I'm kind of sweating now, right? It's like, I know we did this amazing thing. I read the story. It was outstanding. And now it's like, okay, did the self-fulfilling prophecy, is it coming to fruition or is it not? And so we just kind of laid in wait for a few weeks. And I think we relished on all of the changes mentally, emotionally, physically that were made. And we went on with the next phase of the program, to be honest. I said, listen, you've done everything that you needed to do. Whether you win or not, it's still a win-win-win situation. Winning this challenge is essentially just icing on the cake, and it's a fun thing. But everything that you achieved, you still get to retain, right? So I think there was some sweating at first, but then we kind of just let it go and went on with our program and went on with coaching the next phase of the nutrition protocols. And then I got the email, and now I'm not going to lie. I think I've coached 13 national finalists up until in the last 3 years since doing the 60. There's 13 national 13 national finalists now, and this was the one that I needed it to be. And so I was kind of, without letting her know, I was kind of sweating a little bit. But I got the call from Chelsea, which I have a great relationship with. I was Chelsea and Coach, and I was through the roof. They Skyped me or Zoomed me. And I kind of got really loud and banged the desk a couple of times. And I just couldn't wait to talk to Mary Beth about it, because she was just, she earned it. She earned the results. She earned the success of it all. But she was also just so deserving of it, And I don't like to use that word. I don't use that word loosely, but she was so deserving. Not only did she earn it, but she deserved it. And it couldn't have gone to a better person, in my opinion.
Great. So did you hold the information, or did you call it right away? Or did
I held it for like an hour. I was supposed to hold it a little bit longer, but I held it for an hour, and then I called her and I said, okay, we got to keep this under wraps for a little bit. But yeah, for about an hour.
Great. Fantastic. Well, it's just, I guess last question I've got two, and then anything else that you guys want to add, and I will talk about as it moves forward is, where are you now? Obviously that was announced how many months ago now? About a month or two?
About 2 months. 2 months
about
ago.
2 months. Yeah. And so where are you now to where you were then?
A few fluffy pounds up.
Okay, not there.
But mentally,
That's
I
it.
am more driven. I am so ready for this next 60 days. And I already know I'm able and I'm capable of doing so much. And now I'm ready to crank it up a notch even more than before. So I'm like, can I win back-to-back 90 or 60-day competitions? That's my goal. I want to win this again. I want to bring the best package that I did the first time. But
that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, and
I just know, I have a goal, and Andrew's taught me, I'm in control of my own destiny. I can't control what other people bring, but I know what I can do. I can make plans. I can have steps. I need to implement them, and then we're going to get our goals.
Yeah.
And I'll chime in, Jason. When she says she's a few, quote unquote, fluffy pounds, she took a little bit. She had vacations. She went to Puerto Rico. She had her best friend come in town. And so I think we throttled down on her programming a little bit. She looks and feels amazing still. She's still in the gym 3 to 5 days a week, having a blast. But yeah, she came to me a few days ago, I think it was, on Monday. It was Monday. And she's like, what do you think about doing another 60-day challenge? And I said, well, I said, I don't know if I'm going to coach necessarily anybody right now, but we can talk about it. And I think halfway through our time together, 30 minutes later, I'm like, all right, here's the plan. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and at the end of the day too, like I said, I think the take home, hopefully people are hearing, that you're going to take it in different, I want the weight, I want this, but it's what you'd said a couple of times is you feel better mentally, you're happier, your family and friends have noticed it. And those are the things, that's life. I mean, that's the real deal that this is all about. I mean, looking good and all that other stuff that, again, is just an add-on, I think, bonus that comes with it in a lot of cases, but not necessarily. So, I just want to say congratulations to, again, both of you guys. I'd love for you guys, Andrew, if you have anything, or Mary Beth, if you have anything to kind of leave people that are, questioning, should I do this or not? And just, what advice would you give them?
Go ahead, Andrew.
Okay, so I think there's so much out there in the world nowadays. When I was growing up, we had encyclopedias, right? We didn't have the internet, and I think
you mean the Arnold Encyclopedia?
Yeah, we had Encyclopedia Britannica, and that was pretty much it. And then that was pretty much it. And where now it's this oversaturation of information, and I think you have to also look at, where is this information coming from? What's the audience, and what are they trying? What's the motive of it? What's the purpose behind it? And I think it confuses a lot of people. And like I said, information saturation. And I can tell you this, it is much more simple than what you may be led to believe out there in the ethernet somewhere. And so I think what we try to teach here in That Lifetime is a simplified approach that produces results. Mentally, emotionally, and physically. Like I mentioned earlier, we want to treat the whole person, and it isn't as complicated as people make it out to be. And I understand if you don't know where to start, it seems overwhelming. It seems daunting. One of the quotes we talk about a lot and with Mary Beth, is no one climbs Mount Everest alone, right? And take a second and think about that. And I think what I'll leave people with is take that first step. Identify what your Mount Everest is. Take that first step and just do one step after the other. And if you need to ask for help, because I promise you, it's not complicated. It is actually very simple. Align yourself with a coach who cares. Align yourself with a coach who is as dedicated to you as you are to yourself, and on whatever you've identified as your Mount Everest.
Mm-hmm. Love it. I always say simple, but not easy. Right?
Correct. And then I'll tack onto that. I'll tack onto that. Nothing easy in life is very rewarding. Nothing rewarding in life comes very easily.
It's the truth. Mary Beth, how about yourself?
So I would resonate with, I ended up watching Coach Annika's videos in the very beginning, and she's like, find your why, take 10 minutes, an hour, find out what your why is, and like really dial that in. Like, what is your why? And then, make those steps. Let's start a plan and get there. And then I would say find your why and realize at the end of the day, like the 60 days are going to go by regardless. So why not benefit, commit to these 60 days.
Mary Beth, now, to you, what advice would you give somebody if you see them or talk to them in the club, maybe they're contemplating, doing the 60-day or, taking that step? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I would tell them it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me. Online, there's so many great resources they give you. There's meal plans, there's recipes that are delicious. They give you online training, workouts. So those are things you can take with you even far beyond the 60 days. It's really just a great thing to be a part of. You grow a sense of community. You work out, people hold you accountable too, which has been great as well. So I would tell them, you literally have nothing to lose.
That's great. Fantastic. And finally, I'd like to end, Andrew, I know that your lifetime is not the typical lifetime. It's a bit smaller. It's not the typical big, huge monster, but yet you said that, at that club, in your experience, you've had, was it 18 finalists?
13 national finalists.
13 national finalists over how many years?
Just under 3 years.
Okay. Think about that, folks. And I just think, having that culture, would you mind talking about how you've created that, how you've kind of created this boutique almost lifetime, and yet your whole place is known now for getting people to achieving just these extraordinary, accomplishments?
Yeah, community. And so I almost lost my leg. I'll harken back to something personal. I almost lost my leg when I was 17, and that's kind of where I found my way to Stoicism and some really excellent psychology resources and whatnot. And my mother having me read lots of books. But I couldn't have achieved, and I came back, got a D1 scholarship, was in 2 medical journals, defied all the prognoses. And I wouldn't have been able to achieve that without a community, without a really strong support system. And when I joined Lifetime, I immediately recognized that that's what 60 Day brings to the table. It's something bigger than ourselves. It's something, it creates a vision. It helps to create a vision for somebody, right? And from, literally, I think it was my first 60 Day with Lifetime, I said, this is what I'm going to build a culture around, build a community around. And I think that's the benefit of working at a boutique Lifetime, is you can impact members much more swiftly and directly. Your reach is a little bit more profound. And I think it's leading by example, right? I needed to be the first one to kind of buy into it and to build it from the ground up, so to speak. And after my first few national finalists, other kind of coaches started to see the mental and physical and emotional changes, and members started to pick up on that. And then it kind of just snowballed. And then I got a few more national finalists. And then before shutdown in 2019, 2020, I forget which it is, but before we closed the doors to the club for a little bit, we were number 1 in a lot of the things that we measure in 60 Day, participation, attendance, adherence, all these things. And right when we opened back up, we were number 1 again. And that to me was a testament to the community that we built at every level, from the members, from the entire team members in Lifetime, from the coaches, obviously. That to me was what I needed to see to say, okay, we've done it. And again, I'll say it couldn't have happened to a better person. Mary Beth was kind of like the culmination of 3 years of really hard blood, sweat, and tears. And we finally brought our first national winner to our club, and she's kind of like our walking state or national champ now. So it's kind of cool to see.
That's great. And there's so much behind that I think you take for granted is the ability to get a group of individuals, all aligned on focusing on, how can I help people improve their well-being, their health, their happiness, through the 60 Day. And it becomes this culture where now, you get multiple people doing it over and over again, and it just makes your job easier, and it helps, that many more people. So, I just want to say congratulations to both of you guys again. Great, amazing stories. You guys both did great. Anything else that you want to leave, the audience with before we go?
Yeah,
I have one thing. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mary Beth.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you're that person like me, I'm just your typical next door neighbor, right? Like before this, I was not athletic. I didn't play sports in college. Like, anyone is capable of this. And I know for so long I had tried to do this on my own. So don't be afraid to ask for help, because that's what they're there for. They're knowledgeable. They're professionals at their job, and they're amazing at it. So please ask for help. It's there for you. Don't be afraid.
That's awesome. Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, no, I'll leave it to the other, coaches, trainers, fitness professionals out there. I'll leave them with this. I think the 60 Day has benefited me as much, if not more, probably, than it's benefited all of the people that I've been fortunate enough to coach through it. If you take this seriously, if you really take the responsibility of treating the whole person, truly producing results on their health and well-being, bringing to life a different level of happiness and health and confidence for them, you will level up as a coach if you leverage the 60 Day and assess your ability to do things, assess your ability to connect to people, your ability to produce results for that person, whatever it is. I look back on maybe 8 or 9 60 days that I've been a part of. I am a dramatically improved coach because I took this so seriously, and I took that responsibility so seriously that I had to the members.
Awesome. And, I'll put in the show notes so you can see the links where you can go and wherever club you're at. I mean, the beautiful thing now is you can do it virtually. So if you connect with somebody like Andrew, he can help you from wherever you're at in the country virtually if you want to do that. But obviously to feel that culture in Ohio where you guys are at has got to be amazing. And I look forward to potentially getting out there. If you guys are ever out in Arizona, come on in and make sure that you let me know. So thanks again. Congratulations. And, I'd love to see you in that winner circle again, Mary Beth.